The car industry, as we know it, it is dying. Not slowly, not gradually, but choking on its own fumes and grinding its gears to a halt. Meanwhile, the new kids on the block are stealing its lunch, its pocket money, and its car keys. Legacy car makers, those once mighty titans of the highways and byways, are now looking like flailing dinosaurs frantically stomping about, clueless as to what to do about the massive asteroid darkening their skies and hurtling towards them. Meanwhile, from the east, a tidal wave of new players are rushing forward, talwars and sabers in hand. They mean business. They're leaner, they're smarter, they're faster, and they're bringing the sort of automotive tech and innovation that makes the products of legacy car makers look like relics, quite frankly. Make no mistake, they're not just winning, they're annihilating the opposition. And I'll explain how and why right after this.
A brown car guy. Brown car guy.
Once upon a time, Britain, which by the way was actually in the 1950s the biggest exporter of cars in the world. Anyway, at that time, it handed one of its cast-offs to India. I mean, literally, they were like, here's the Morris Oxford castings. We don't need them anymore. Do you want to do something with them? Yeah, so India took them gratefully, and it remade the Oxford into the Hindustan Ambassador, which became the best-selling car in India for decades. Everybody from film stars to ministers to taxi drivers, they all had them. Apart from a couple of other, Fiat platforms, that was pretty much the car of India, so to speak. Fast forward to today, and while Britain's car industry has dwindled to, assembling cars for other countries, over at the Auto Expo that's happening right now in New Delhi in India, the world is being wowed by some of the most exciting and indeed enticing new car debuts to grace any motor show in recent times. And India's own Tata and Mahindra car making giants are showing cars so advanced and so exciting that executives at legacy Western car companies right now are refreshing and retyping their CVs and learning to speak Hindi. But we have the Range Rover, you'll say. We have British cars, nothing more British than a Range Rover, right? Well, let me just point out the fact that Jaguar Land Rover is also actually owned by Tata in India. And just for absolute clarity, there is now not a single actual car manufacturer of note that is entirely British owned. Now, you might be about to correct me with something like, say, McLaren Automotive. Well, actually, Abu Dhabi just bought a big chunk of that. Back when I was a kid, I remember seeing cars jumping in movie chases. In old Bollywood movies, for example, when they encountered an obstacle in the way during a car chase, they wouldn't try to drive around it, they'd just jump over it from a flat surface. I mean, how the heck? They would show the hero suddenly change gear, and next thing you know, suddenly the car would take off at precisely the right speed and the right angle needed to clear that obstacle, landing completely unharmed and without a ramp at either end. Now, I spent years as a kid wondering how that was even possible. What did the hero do? Did he slam it into reverse gear, to get that lift at the front? But surely that would completely wreck and detonate the drivetrain faster than you can say, ouch. Of course, Dukes of Hazzard were also notorious for jumps, but there was always some kind of ramp to launch the car off. But then we got Kit from Knight Rider. Michael would hit turbo boost and that thing would literally fly. That was science fiction. But now, moving across to China, and they've just made science fiction science fact. The BYD Yangwang U9 electric supercar can actually jump. Yes, it can tank turn, it can drive on only 3 wheels, plus it can do a little dance thanks to trick suspension, but it can also jump. Here's a video of it jumping over potholes. There's a message in there, isn't there? Because British roads are utterly riddled with craters. So the Chinese show us a car that can jump over them. They're really rubbing it in right now, aren't they? Whilst we're arguing about filling in our wrecked roads, the Chinese are literally leaping over us. BYD, Geely, Great Wall Motors, they're not just knocking on the door. They're bashing it down, the frame, the wall, in fact, the whole goddamn building, or should it be the factories. The only thing these new companies lack is any kind of motoring heritage or nostalgia. But frankly, they don't need it. They're not afraid to borrow others. For example, they did a better retro-style Beetle than Volkswagen managed. The Aura Ballet Cat is an EV, and man, does it look the part. China now exports 70% of the world's electric cars. They're dominating the home turf, the Far East, Southeast Asia, South Asia, the Middle East, you name it. I mean, I was in Dubai last December and the number of Chinese cars on the road blew my mind. 6 years ago when I lived there, they weren't even part of the car conversation. Now, they are the car conversation. The Koreans are still in there too. Hyundai and Kia are still punching out cracking cars that are not just good, they're actually quite excellent. Japan, a little wobbly, having seemingly been caught completely out by the EV revolution. Frankly, they still don't seem to be entirely on board with it, but don't count them out just yet because they could catch up fast. They're already showing signs of doing so. They're consolidating too. So Honda and Nissan are merging and repositioning. Take the Honda O Saloon concept that was recently shown at the CES, the tech show. It's like the Gallardo Saloon that Lamborghini should have made. And Toyota? Remember the original Prius? I mean, look at it. Talk about ugly duckling. But look at it today. Oh my God, that is too good to be left just for Uber drivers to have. Meanwhile, here's an example of a current Mercedes. I bet your air fryer looks more exciting. And check this out. This is not the Ferrari Pura Sangway. This is the Toyota Crown Sport. Damn! Hey, are you enjoying this video? Then make sure you hit the like button. It's very important. Plus, comment, share, and make sure you're subscribed. Europe's car makers are stuck in quicksand. High labor costs, crippling emission regulations, and unions slowing down decision-making processes in these already lumbering giants is resulting in the ultimate slow-motion car crash of epic proportions. Even the carnage in the Blues Brothers movies, which saw over 100 cars destroyed, can't match this. Right now, car companies are constantly chopping and changing their product plans, redirecting their investments, and trying to shed weight. But it's not easy to close factories or pivot production. Volkswagen and Stellantis, two giants, are struggling and trying to close plants. Others are sounding alarm bells too. Meanwhile, some are just staring wide-eyed into the abyss, wondering how it came to this. The news isn't much better across the pond either. Frankly, it was only in the 2000s and 2010s that they got really good at making desirable cars. Juicy Cadillacs, mighty Chargers and 300Cs, but now the Camaro, gone. Challenger, gone. Only the Mustang is still hanging on, just about. But what have we got instead? The Tesla Cybertruck. What even is that? Now the kid in me should love it. Stainless steel finish like a DeLorean, sharp edges, wedge-shaped design. It's something that me as a kid might have drawn, but that's the problem. I'm not a kid anymore. And in the light of the grown-up real world, this thing is vulgar, ridiculous, and makes no sense at all. I've seen it in the metal. It's got presence, that's for sure, but not the appealing kind. You don't think I want one. Instead, it has the presence of a monstrous demon that you can't stop staring at, even as it sucks your soul out of your body through your eye sockets. Anyway, back to the legacy car industry, and frankly, it's fair to say it is having an extinction-level crisis right now. Tariffs and protectionism are being slapped on like cheap plasters that you got at the pound shop because they were way less than the ones at Boots. On the other hand, they make your skin go green and they come off after 20 minutes. History tells us that tariffs and protectionism doesn't work. Really, the only way to compete is just to be better and cheaper. And that's exactly what China and India are doing. Better, cheaper, no history, no hang-ups, no rules. For legacy brands, there's one card left to play: history and heritage, the loyalty of petrolheads like us. But even there, they're failing. Fan-favorite nameplates keep getting killed off or switched to electric. Some manufacturers are busy trying to tweak their identities to make them more relevant, or so they believe, while others, like Jaguar, are ditching their heritage altogether and completely reinventing themselves to look like an upstart Chinese brand, but at 4 times the price. They're inevitably destined to fail. So here we are, watching the once glorious car industry as it staggers through its final act. The East is rising, the West is falling. That's just how it is right now. The question isn't whether the industry will change. It already has. The question is whether we'll even recognize it by the time the dust settles. Will we look back on this moment and mourn the death of an era, or will we embrace the chaos and celebrate the birth of something entirely new? Let me know what you think. Are we witnessing the death throes of the car industry as we knew it, or can traditional brands adapt, innovate, and strike back? Or will it be a case of can't beat them, join them? And we'll see more companies being bought by the East, just as we have with Volvo, Lotus, MG, or even the Middle East, as we've seen with Aston Martin and McLaren. I look forward to hearing your comments. And meanwhile, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. One thing's for sure, the road ahead is going to be bumpy. Whether we drive across it or leap over it in a Yangwang U9, I guess it all depends on who's going to be behind the wheel. Catch you all in the next video. Hi guys, I've been writing. This is my first book, a novel, an all-out action thriller, and this one is a collection of 13 stories I've written over the course of 2 decades. The Ulysses Files and The Quantum Races by BC Guy are out now on Amazon.com. Shout out time guys, thank you so much. Hey, if you enjoy my content, why not get involved? Buy me a coffee. You can do that at either of these links, or if you're watching on YouTube, buy me a thanks or take out a membership. It all helps, it really does.